Folks, welcome inside. Welcome to Mill Valley, California, and we're joined here today by an absolute legendary bass player and his sister. We're at the original home built by his father, Mario Cipollina. Welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Thanks, Jake.
Can you talk about to the audience about leaving holes in the music and not playing in syncopation with the bass drum? How you learned that?
Well, I think the bigger part of music is listening. You know, the bigger part of music is hearing what other people are playing, more so than what you're playing. I've always been someone who's listening to the music for the song, you know, to let the song express itself, which involves a lot of listening. So, yeah.
How would you say that your brother affected you early on? How did you learn to listen?
How did I what?
How did you learn to listen?
Well, I learned to listen.
You know what I'm saying? Like, was it with real human beings, or was it records, or was it both?
Well, for starters, I played classical music, so you have to listen, and your parts are fitting in. You have a conductor you're following and stuff. But I think, I don't know. I watched the Quicksilver jam a lot, and listening to them jam was a lot of listening. You know, because they play the same song, and it never sounded the same. And it's pretty easy to figure out. It's because the people were interacting with each other and trying things, working off of each other. Right? I mean, yeah.
Well, no, I mean, I think more to the point. I mean, was your brother necessarily uptight about tempo, whether it's slowed down or sped up? Whether the music's like when those long transcendent jams, was he really that uptight about it staying at one tempo?
Oh no, not at all. No, tempo meters changed. Yeah, it wasn't even necessarily tempos. It could be whole time signatures. Time signatures would change, right? Yeah.
But they weren't trained musicians. I mean, they learned on the bandstand, right? Your brother had no.
John was.
Well, he wasn't trained as far as.
You introduce yourself to the audience.
Hi, I'm Antonia.
Antonia, it's an honor to be in your house.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're here.
You know, I do want you to talk about the legacy of your father. He built this absolutely regal establishment that we're in right now. Mm-hmm. What is the legacy of your father to Mill Valley and the greater Bay Area?
Hard to describe. He was. Yeah, he was a local contractor, but ended up becoming a real estate person. But he was in the music community. He became known early on as the guy that got people houses because none of the band members could get houses. They were all hippies, so no one wanted to rent to hippies. So Dad was the intermediary between the musicians and the real estate market in general. And first it was rentals, you know, getting people rentals.
Which cat? The Marty Ballin, Garcia, and those cats?
Well, yeah. I mean, he got them rental houses, but first he got Bill Graham's house down here, and
he got Bill Graham's first house in Blythe.
Jerry's house.
Yeah. Marty's house.
Marty's house, yeah. Pretty much most of them couldn't get places without going through.
At the time, as a musician, if you put that on a lease or a rental, you couldn't get approved for a house.
Right. Yeah. Occupation musician.
Occupation musician.
Yeah.
You put composer or something, but they, you know that. But
I never used musician. Yeah.
So, beyond that, I mean, your dad was a real estate agent, but he built houses on top of that. I mean, he's a bit of a Renaissance cat. Yeah. I mean, can you talk a little bit about the lineage of your family history?
All I can say is that Dad was someone that you know, he was a man about town, not right.
He learned by watching others. That's how he.
Who, Dad did?
Dad.
Yeah.
Can you give an example?
Became a contractor. He would go to people's houses friends of his that were building, and he would watch them build, and learned from that. And that's how he eventually was able to build this
That's
house.
right. He became a contractor without ever learning it.
Right.
Just from watching people. Yeah.
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 So he built this house and he put up all of these. I mean,
He put up everything.
he was so
you
proud
see.
of his family. I mean, look at the amount of tapestry.
Oh, that's mom's stuff. Mom put up all the art.
No, mom put up the artwork, but you're.
Yeah,
the
Mom
posters.
put up the artwork.
Dad
We
put
put
the
up the artwork.
Dad
The
put the
girls put up the artwork.
Yeah, and Dad put up the walls.
And Dad did everything except for that one beam that
Right.
he needed help with.
But I mean, can you give it like? Was that inspiring to you growing up?
Very.
And what can you talk
I
about?
used to carry bricks in with him as a little tiny girl, 5 years old, and helped him build the driveway by putting the stick marks in the driveway.
Did John help build the house?
No. John was ill.
John was. Yeah, that's what Healy was telling me too.
Yeah.
He was sick, but just your parents were your biggest fans, and they were Mario and John's biggest fans.
Yeah. Definitely.
Can you talk about the experiences of going to see your brother at the Fillmore with your family? Like what that experience? That doesn't happen. I mean,
Unbelievable. Every weekend we'd go to all of us.
there wasn't like VIP seating or anything. I mean, were you guys on the stage or what?
No,
What was?
we were just on the floor
Yeah.
with everybody else and the couches and just getting to see John walk on stage with his beautiful hair and
His demeanor.
demeanor was something unexplainable.
Yeah, can we, Mario? Can you talk about the ghosts that when your brother visited you after his death the 2 times?
Sure.
Talk to the audience too.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm a little preoccupied, Jake, as you know.
No, you're doing fine.
Well, John came to visit me a few times. When he died, I was living. I just separated from going through my first divorce, and I was living in my studio in Terra Linda, and one night John had died, and I was preparing to do a concert,
Right.
a memorial concert to him, and I had his amplifiers. I had gotten all of his amps and was having them all refinished. And I got the trumpet bells done and stuff. And I was working one night in the studio trying to make the transformers that would play the DAT tape of his guitar solo through his amps.
Right.
And because that was how it was supposed to be. And I was having trouble with it, so I was getting ready to shut everything down, but I felt a breeze blowing. I was kind of surprised because I didn't have I didn't usually have a window open, and so I walked in front of his amps to the window to close the window, and it was closed. I thought, well, how the hell where did this breeze come from? I walked back in front of his amps, and this blast of cold air.
Wow.
You ever heard this story?
No.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man.
I never heard this.
So it was just, and it was just a wake up to say I'm still with you.
Yeah, well, yeah. I didn't know. I didn't really. I was just freaked out.
Sure.
And so I went over to my console. I was sitting at my mixing board, and I turned it off. And Bill Gibson was over, and Bill and I were sitting there, and I was telling him about this wind thing coming out of John's amps, and I was kind of freaked out.
What did Graham say? Did he?
No, it wasn't Graham. It was Bill Gibson.
Gibbs? Oh, Gibby. Yeah, that's right.
And so I said, man, I don't know. It's kind of weird. I'm going to call it for tonight. And I turned everything off. And as I was getting ready to turn off all the lights, out of channel left channel, we hear a distinct cough, really loud, coming out of the speakers. And all the speakers, all the amps were off. There wasn't a thing on in place. There was no audio gear live at all. And that really freaked me out.
Wow.
Yeah. I thought I told you that. And then another time I was at Oh, there's a bunch of them. You know?
What about the wall that came down?
Yeah, the one. I had a picture of John that I kept hidden because every time I put it up, something would happen. And I pulled out finally one day at my second house I lived with my wife, and I hang up the picture, make peace with it being there. Everything's okay. Nothing's flying off the walls or anything. And I leave the room, and it was in the studio. And about 3 or 4 hours later, I come walking down the hallway. I walk down the hallway, and I look in the studio, and I see a volleyball on the floor at the bottom of the wall where John's picture was hanging. And I thought, where the hell did that soccer ball come from? And I went over to pick it up, and I reached over to pick it up, and it flew up in the air and disappeared through a wall. And I realized that it wasn't a soccer ball; it was an orb. It was about the size of a soccer ball, but it was like steam. It was like steam, you know. So so I went to pick it up, and it just disappeared up through the wall. It's cool.
Can you talk about the dreams you've had, or the times that you've seen that John's visited you?
Well, I've mainly seen him in dreams,
Which is great.
Talk about the dream.
Very happy. He's been very happy in every dream I've had, and he looks great. And
is he healthy?
He looks healthy.
Oh, that's great. Because Healy was talking about they used to rib him about the fact that he was kind of always sickly. I mean, he lived on houseboats with the whole gang,
Right.
Quicksilver, but boy, it never really showed up in his. You never heard a weak note come out of his guitar. I mean, maybe he was. You know what I'm saying? I mean, your dad. So all the cats were here, basically signing mortgages for their houses, right?
Well, they lived here for quite a while.
Quicksilver lived
For a
here.
month. Yeah, Quicksilver.
You know, Mario, can you take us over to the pianos and show us about Nicky Hopkins and what your mom used to do? Come on, let's go over there for a minute. Here at the original Cipollina residence here on the Jake Feinberg Show.
Not much to see.
No, what I'm trying to get at is the idea that your mom. Tell the audience about your mom and then the fact that was sitting on the hill.
Yeah, I used to.
Yeah, that was Nicky's piano in the back.
Right. Yeah, I used to come.
Nicky Hopkins would play this piano?
Yeah, I used to come here after school. We'd go sit up on the hill, and Nicky and Mom would sit at the piano and play. We gotta go, Jake. I gotta go.
Sometimes